back to Takedown MMA. This is our third and final segment for the week. Evan Herzog of the Fight Magazine, Albert Rosales of Grinders Fitness. We're going to this is going to be a little bit of an open segment. We're going to start with talking about the debut of Mackenzie Dern last night in the UFC. The Jiu-Jitsu standout won a split decision. I believe it was split decision. Or it was it was very close either way. They were all 29-28 one way or the other. Over Ashley
Yoder.
Yep. Ashley showed some good stuff last night as far as takedown defense. But at the end of the day, Mackenzie Dern did get out of there with the victory. What did you think of Dern in her debut under the big lights? Were you expecting more? Were you expecting less? I know I saw some things that maybe concerned me going forward with how fast the UFC may push her, but what did you think?
Well, I'm going to start with Ashley first. Ashley actually did a lot of things really well. The problems I had with Ashley were more footwork. If she would have utilized just a little bit of footwork, that would have been an easy fight for her. Mackenzie's coming in, she's just ducking her head, and she's just throwing as hard as she can just to get to that clinch. And all Yoder needed to do was just circle out. That's all she needed to do. She was constantly putting her back against the cage. She was walking backwards, going straight back, and then back to the cage. And now all it takes is 2 strikes, and boom, Mackenzie's in the clinch. Okay, and that's not where Yoder wanted to win the fight. As far as her takedown defense, it looked pretty good. Like, she did a good job against the fence. I had her winning the fight, and we were watching the fight. As we were watching the fight, that's what we kept saying was, watch out for the shot. She's going to shoot in the 3rd round. Mackenzie's going to shoot in the 3rd round. Especially in a close fight, she's going to try and steal that round. Obviously, that's what happened. She shot in, got a nice single leg takedown, took her back, and then ended up stealing the fight. As far as Mackenzie's concerned, her striking is very, very basic. She needs a lot of work on her striking. Her ground game is as legit as it comes. Obviously she's a world champion in jiu-jitsu. I can't think of any females that have better jiu-jitsu than she does,
She beat Gabby Garcia in an open weight.
Well, weighs her by like 100 pounds or something.
Over 100
like
pounds.
Yeah,
that is some old school Royce Gracie type jiu-jitsu, that's insane.
We know she's got that. Her clinch did not look good at all, okay? Yoder at any point in the clinch could have actually circled off the cage. There was a ton of openings. What I saw when I saw Mackenzie Dern was I saw a lot of holes. She's going to have to be matched very carefully and brought up very slowly. If you want to milk that cow a little bit, you're going to have to bring her along slowly. If you throw her in the deep end too much, and I did not mean milk that cow in a bad way either. I'm just saying. I saw somebody laughing over here. Somebody was laughing in the background, so I had to throw it out there. But anyway, so as we go along, if you kind of want to string her along a little bit and try and make money off of her,
you can't give her strikers. You got to pretty much give her wrestlers she's okay if they take her down.
Right. And even at some point in the telecast, Joe Rogan even said something about Mackenzie jumping guard. Don't ever do that. I understand, there's very few people that can get away with that. Mackenzie Dern being maybe one of them, Demian Maia, somebody like that.
Maybe Mr. Ortega as well. We saw him jump. He didn't have to pull all the way to guard, but we saw him finish
with the guillotine.
Correct.
Yeah. It's not something I would advise in a fight. But as far as that goes, she's got a lot of holes, so they're going to have to be very careful how they match her.
You know who else pulls guard? And I'd love to see him come up. This is off subject a little bit, but since we're talking great MMA, jiu-jitsu, Chrome Gracie has basically, he's over there with one, I believe, or is it Ryzen? One of those over in Japan, those MMA promotions, and he can get away. He pulls guard a lot. He does it in his competition jiu-jitsu a lot and finishes a lot of guys, but I digress. I felt like Mackenzie, I agree, she's going to have to be matched specifically. You spoke about her striking, and you also spoke about Yoder moving backwards a little bit, and you didn't like that. Do you think, as basic as it was, I noticed a few shots there early that Dern landed with as not much technique there, but does she maybe have a little bit of power? Because I saw Yoder kind of a little bit surprised, and from that point forward, she was kind of on the retreat. Maybe respected her shots a little bit more. They were wild, coming over the top.
Right.
But she did hit her a couple times. I was surprised at that, but it does scare me that she is going to get too much confidence and then get in there with a real killer on the feet, and she does not want to throw with girls at a high level of striking at all right now.
You know, honestly, I think with 4-ounce gloves, everybody's got a little bit of power, you know. I think against the elite, I don't think it really phases them that much. I genuinely just think Yoder either she had the wrong game plan or she didn't follow the game plan. You know, with that kind of a striker, what I saw Yoder doing was just biting down on her mouthpiece and throwing with Mackenzie, when instead she probably should have been circling out and then just picking her apart, just pick her apart. Because what we've seen out of Mackenzie so far is when you start landing those strikes, that's when those desperate shots start coming. And that's going to start to open stuff up for you, you know. So I just feel like it could have been either she just didn't follow the game plan or they just had the wrong game plan for that fight.
All right, that we'll see what's in store for Mackenzie Dern. I think we both agree they got to be very careful with their matchups. There's no rush with her. You know, she's still brand new, only been full training MMA, you know, focusing on all aspects just for a couple of years now. So, you know, we'll see. I do want to touch on the CB Dalloway Hector Lombard fight last night. Ended in a DQ at the end of round 1. I think we might. You saw if you didn't see the fight, go look it up.
Excuse me.
Because you're going to have to just kind of decide for yourself on what you thought. Really, the only person that knows is Hector Lombard. But there were 2 strikes thrown after the first bell had sounded at the end of the first round, and it ended with a left hook, I believe.
Right.
And it was a flattening left hook that knocked out CB Dalloway. And from Hector Lombard, he could not continue. It was ruled a DQ. Dalloway was given the victory via DQ. First of all, your thoughts on the shots that Lombard threw, and your thoughts on the disqualification decision.
Well, I think the disqualification decision is the right call. I don't feel like it was intentional on Lombard. I don't feel like he did that out of, you know, being a dirty fighter or anything like that. I genuinely think he was just being aggressive with his counters. The body kick landed, and immediately he countered right after. I think the timing was just off. To me, the DQ was warranted because the referee told him he had short time. Okay, the bell rings, and the referee yelled time twice after that in that short amount of time. So to me, like, you can do it unintentionally and still get disqualified. You know, I mean, it's hard to pull punches when you're already in the process. And I felt like he is so explosive and so fast that he was just going for it. Joe Rogan made mention about Dalloway getting knocked out because he pulled up after the bell. I don't believe that. I didn't see that when I watched the fight. I didn't see Dalloway pulling up. I just believe he got caught clean. And let's be honest, it's fighting. And what do they tell you in fighting?
Protect yourself at all times.
Defend yourself at all times. Right. Absolutely.
I do think it was a little egregious. You know, it's in the eye of the beholder, and I guess in your hearing on this one too, because I thought it was clear, like a full second after the bell rang. Plus, after the first, like I said off camera, the first shot, okay, we see that. It happens, and it usually ends with a warning. Sometimes they'll take a point. Sometimes they won't at all, and they'll let it happen, you know, round after round, like Durandamy versus Holly Holm in the original 145-pound championship fight, where they just warning after warning. But when you watch it and you hear it and you see the first punch land clearly after the bell, and I get it's the combination and you practice that and it becomes like, you know, like riding a bicycle, second nature, muscle memory, whatever have you. But you're also trained to listen for the bell and the ref. Probably the ref first and then the bell.
That's
right?
the reason I felt like it was a warranted call to have the disqualification.
Right. The second shot was, I thought it was blatant. I felt like he had enough time, as much as we agree with the muscle memory and stuff. I think he had enough time to hold up. I think he knew it was a mistake. As soon as it happened, you saw Lombard kind of point down at him, and he didn't really throw a fit about the DQ. He asked me what happened, but I mean, it's clear that you knocked the dude out after it was over. So it's kind of funny because after weeks of kind of having smooth sailings, we're going to run into this with 8 straight weeks of UFC fighting, but now back-to-back weeks with a little bit of controversy. I think they got this one right. I think they got last week's right with Josh Emmett and Jeremy Stevens. Right. So, kudos. Both two completely different situations, but I think they got both of them right. But let's wrap this up with a little bit of an announcement. What's going on up there at Grinders Fitness?
Well, we've got great news coming out of our gym. Shannon Sinn gets a World Championship title fight against Sabina Mazo for LFA. That will be April 20th. This is a huge fight for our gym and for Shannon in particular. She's been working hard her entire career, just really trying to get that shot. And lo and behold, here it is. It's staring us right in the face. So we're really excited about this matchup. We're looking forward to having Shannon on the show at some point before her fight. Just keep an eye out for us. We're doing a lot of good things out of our gym, and I genuinely believe we're going to come home with a world title.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations to you, to Shannon, to everybody at Grinders. That whole, it's a family atmosphere up there. If you ever see, a regional fight here where the whole gym can come, literally the whole gym comes. So congrats on that. Look forward to talking to Shannon soon. More fights coming up next weekend. We'll be right here next Sunday to give you our take on TAKEdown MMA on ibtv.us and Roku TV. Evan Herzog of the Fight Magazine, Albert Rosales